Have you ever wanted another bike? Oh, of course you did. The answer is yes. That's rhetorical. You don't have to answer that. Really, the question is, what do you want for another bike? XC bike, trail bike, enduro bike. All right. So the good features. Well, the carbon mold looks good. The inside looks great. Like the EPS mold, they do a good job with it. Inside is clean. The geometry was what I was looking for. It's really what narrowed me down to this frame. Getting something with a 518 reach from a Chinese brand is next to impossible. So like my Anthem is a 495 reach with a, I forget whether I settled on an 80 mil or a 90 mil stem, but it's one of those. I think it's 80, whatever. But anyway, I'm not going to run an 80 mil stem on an enduro bike, so I wanted a longer reach on the frame, and we can have like a 42 or a 35 mil stem. The 65.5 head tube is great. All right, now bearing failures. The bearing that was in here, the one on the other side, this one is obviously still in one piece. This was one of the 3 bearing failures where like the balls were missing by the time I got to it. This is a 6802. This is a 15 ID, 24 OD, 5mm wide, single row of balls with a retainer. Now, this is the bearing that was in here when I got the bike. You can tell that this is the bearing that was in here because there's still overspray on it from when the frame was painted. So this was 100% in the bike when I got it. After I had that bearing failure issue, I just switched bikes, but I messaged the company. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to replace every single bearing in the bike. I messaged them, and they sent me back a list of bearings to buy. I bought them, and as I'm going through the bike, I'm doing the bearings one by one, and I'm getting near the end, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. I still have 3802s left in the pile of bearings here. And that's when I reached out to them, and I'm like, hey, I was replacing the bearings one by one. I took a bearing out, put a bearing in, more or less, and I had these extra 3802s. Where do they go? And that was when they sent me a picture with a, well, first they said, oh, well, they were definitely in there because the bike wouldn't have worked if they weren't in there. Something to that effect. But anyway, they went here, and I was pleasantly surprised because this bolt, it was recessed before, but now with a 7mm wide bearing in there instead of a 5mm wide, now the bolt is ever so slightly sticking out, but not by much. It's not a big deal how much it sticks out. But I was pleasantly surprised and happy that I could fit a double row, a bearing with 2 rows of balls. So we went from a bearing that had like 293 pounds of force rating to like 900 something pounds of force. Like, that is a significant improvement. And when a Chinese manufacturer, frame manufacturer, cheaps out like that, I kind of don't mind that. Like, I don't mind taking out the cheap bearing and putting in a better quality and a slightly thicker if it fits. Problem is, it doesn't necessarily fit in here when you do this, because there's this, the depth of this is only 5 mil. I took it to the machine shop and had them make it 7 mil. All right, now very quickly, the bearings in the lower link failed. This is the stock lower link that was in the bike. These are 6801 bearings that are in here. These 2 right here failed. Like, when I say failed, I mean like under 200 miles, 166 miles at Thunder Mountain. Take the bike off of the lift. Now, the bearings that are in here. This is, let's see. This is a 6801 bearing. It's a 12 ID, 21 OD, 5mm wide with a cage. It has 12 balls in it. It has a static load rating of 234 pounds of force, which is 106 kilograms. Now, if I'm I'm about 200 pounds, completely kitted up. Anyway, system weight's probably 250. So if I get on the bike and I do sag, I'm exceeding the load rating of the bearing. I guess my question is, from an engineering standpoint, is that sound engineering principles? Now I guess you could say, oh, well, there's 2 bearings in here, so it's really not 106 kgs or 234 pounds. It's 468 pounds or 212 kgs. I don't think that's way too, cutting it way too close. Anyway, all of the balls, let's put the pictures in here. All the balls were missing, which made getting the outer races out extra fun. So I replaced it with this here. These are 6801's full complement, which just means, so the difference is this has 12 balls in it. Something like this has, if that will focus, this has 21 balls in it. So when you go from 12 balls to 21 balls, that significantly increases the rating of the bearing. So we're at 409 pounds of force for static load rating, or 185 kgs. That this is already significantly better, but there was no tube in here, no tube in here or in here. So imagine you have these bearings here and you have a shaft that goes through it and it tightens down to 17 Newton meters of force. So you got a 2mm washer on either side. Oh, forgot the bearing. So you're going to tighten this down to 17 Newton meters now with no tube to keep the bearings properly preloaded. So, well, you could say that you've certainly taken out any slop in the bearings, but you're just annihilating the bearings at that point. And the axial load rating on a 6801 is like next to nothing. This 6801 bearing, here's one of them. This is a metal shielded one, but this is such a small, tiny little bearing. Like if somebody came up to me on the street and was like, "Hey, I'll give you $100 if you could tell me what this teeny tiny little bearing came out of," I'd be like, I don't know, A-scale nitro buggy. That's my guess. I wouldn't have said mountain bike suspension pivot. Could be a mountain bike suspension pivot for like a Walmart bike for a 12-year-old. Anyway, so we came home and this was our first fix. First thing we did was put a tube in here and a tube in here, and we used full complement bearings, and that was better. We also put in here we have needle bearings. Only set of needle bearings on the bike. This is another gripe of mine. Here it is. So this width right here is 23 millimeters. You can't buy a bearing for the shock that is 23. You can buy 22.2 or you can buy 23.4. So, not the end of the world. I bought a 23.4 one and I took 0.2 off and I made the shaft fit in here. But most people would just have a 30 millimeter width, and you would be able to use something like this. Easier to service, easier to put in, take out, sealed like really nicely, and it's just kind of just 30 millimeters, kind of like what most of the industry does. Now I don't know if you're going to be able to see this on camera. I can certainly see it looking at it, and so I'm going to call them ears. I don't know what they really are, but they have no support. There's a reason why it's not an open air design from the big boys. Even the other company. Now this is a lower link from BXT and Meinier, I don't know how you say it. Similar, It has the same width at the frame and the same width at the swing arm. So, but it is not the same length this way. If I put this one in the bike, it would make the chainstays even shorter, which is not what we're going for. Longer would be nice. This has its own problems, different problems than the Tideace one. Tideace and SPCycles. Okay, so now that issue, right? Like, how many issues can you have in one thing? So here's what we had to do. Okay, let's take this apart now. So we've got this. This is just a tube of aluminum. It was a rod of aluminum. This was like $5, the whole thing, I want to say. We went to our good friends at Colonial, and I said, make this fit in here, and that's going to be the support for the ears, and then make this fit in here, and that's going to be our preload system for our bearings. And phenomenal job, I gotta say. There's even a slight bevel. So this fits in here, and it's perfect fit. But you gotta get the clock position right for it to sit low enough. Whatever. And then we get the tube in there. Now we're going to use our 3801 bearings. Now the problem is there's not enough material in here to go 2 millimeters deeper to use our 3801 bearings. This is going to need a redesign from Tideace. You're going to have to recast this and make it look more like this. This has different problems. We'll talk about that in a minute. Anyway, so we only went a 1/2 mil deeper here, and so instead of using 2 mil washers, we have a 1/2 mil washer. So this is going to press in here, and then we're going to have a 1/2 mil washer, and then we'll be done. On this one here, there's plenty of meat in here, so we were able to go 2 mil deeper. So this is a 3801. This is this 3801, super cheap. This 4-pack was like $11.50, full retail MSRP, AliExpress. So I'm sure you can find them. But you also need this. Oops. This is going to be your bearing preload. What engineer designed this to put bearings in here and then torque it up to 17 Newton meters? With no tube in between? Who thought that was going to work? Seriously. But anyway, the main frame pivot is going to be great because we're going to have 3801 bearings in here with the tube. This is 100% fixed. This fix over here, I mean, it'll do. It's not 100% perfect, but how much money do we want to spend on this, and how much time do we want to spend on this? If I really wanted to go full ham on this, you could buy a cube of 6061. What is it, $100 for a cube of 6061? If you bought a 5-inch cube, you could make more than one for sure. Okay, this lower link, Tideace isn't the only people who screwed up. This is a BXT, also Meinier, I don't know. These people also did not think that you needed to put a tube in between. So I left one bearing in, one bearing out so that you can see what's going on here. Now, if this will focus, let's see. So the inner race is the same diameter as the hole that they drilled in here. So it is absurd when you put the bolt through here and you tighten it down. It's you might as well just have a bushing in here instead of a bearing. That's how much friction you're going to have. That's the first problem. The second problem is that, I guess my question is, should I be able to pop the bearing in with my finger? I don't think so. Also, I just wanted to throw in here that I don't think Tideace should be ashamed of contacting Cascade for help with the lower link, because even Western brands get their suspension kinematics wrong, and they need help sometimes. It is completely perfect. Doesn't make a noise. Every pivot is as good as it's going to get with whatever you can see down there. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. Get subscribed, give it a like. We have coming up, we have a attempt at a 2-mass damper, and we have a DIY carbon unboxing that we still have to do. So stay tuned.